of Government. A privilege and honor to have you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and good morning, listeners.
Interesting. We also have a privilege and honor to have Honorable Victoria Sekteriko, who is the former Minister of Agriculture. A privilege having you on this edition.
Very happy to be here. Happy Women's Day to all the men, the women, and the girls and the boys.
Even the men. Interesting.
Of course.
Yes.
Interesting. Also, we have a privilege and honor to have Emily Akulu as the Deputy Executive Secretary coming from National Women's Council. Having you is a privilege.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Interesting. We also have a privilege and honor to have a presidential candidate for Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, Engineer Simile. Annette, it's a great privilege having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning to you, Amon, and our listeners, and good morning to the ladies here with me. And I also want to wish all the women happy Women's Month, and also the women in engineering, happy World Engineering Day, which we shall be celebrating, which we started actually celebrating yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Later we're going to be joined by Rita Namwenge, is the coordinator Myoga program, and we're going to have a very fantastic and educative program tonight with the guests and the women in the studios that you've just had, and those who are on YouTube, you'll be watching our guests live and clear. Accelerating gender equality through women economic empowerment is the topic that we're going to be looking at. Women economic empowerment ensures in achieving women rights and gender. You know, some people misinterpret when we talk about gender equality. It means that we're talking men. Like we always have this contradiction when we talk about human rights, as people so much attached to the opposition, as if those who are in government don't have human rights. We're going to be learning a lot on how best we can promote women's economic justice and rights in the economy, and closing gender gaps in the world of work are the key achieving, and we are looking at how women can really involve themselves in fight against corruption. As we have the Deputy IGG here, we're going to look at the women participation in politics and all spaces available. We have talked about the affirmative action. We're going to be weighing ourselves as a country and look at how we're gone, or the journey that we have already gone. A privilege having you, IGG. If we can start with you, taking us through the gender equality. When we talk about women economic empowerment, what does it mean to you, and how far have we reached as the country looking at the demographic status?
Thank you very much, Amma. When we talk about gender equality through women's economic empowerment, first of all, gender equality, we look at the equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities of all individuals regardless of their gender. So we should not just restrict it to women. It involves the fair treatment of women and men in various areas, including socio-economic, political, and also the cultural spheres of life. So when we talk about achieving gender equality, it is very essential for creating a more just and inclusive society where all individuals have freedom and opportunity to pursue their potential without discrimination or without any biases. For instance, in the workplaces, gender equality means fair play, equal opportunities for advancement, and a work environment that is free from discrimination and harassment. And it also involves challenging traditional gender roles and even stereotypes we keep experiencing, which may limit choices of individuals and even opportunities based on their gender. So as we celebrate International Women's Day this month, we look at the theme accelerating gender equality through women's economic empowerment. And when we talk about accelerating this equality through women's empowerment, it is very crucial, especially in achieving sustainable development and also fostering more inclusive societies in the country, because women's empowerment can help create and even promote gender equality in the first place. And in terms of education training, we are looking at a time when we reflect on how far we have gone, and as a country, providing women with access to education and training has helped to enhance their productivity and employability, and also enabling them to pursue the high-paying jobs and leadership positions. And recently, during the presidential address, he was encouraging citizens to be able to improve their status and move away from the poverty line by being creative and innovative, especially in small inclusion. We have seen programs like the parish development model, ensuring women have access to financial services such as credit, such as savings, and also insurance, which can empower them to start, expand business, and also invest in their family well-being, especially in respect to women's empowerment. Then when we talk about equal pay for equal work, there are still flags here and there, because when you look at the traditional women at the grassroots, you find that they are still struggling. They're the ones who rise up early to go to the market or go to the garden, while the men are going to the trading centers to play omweso and draft. But when we close the gender gap, the pay gap, and ensuring that women receive equal pay for equal work is essential, especially in promoting economic empowerment. And we see in Teso, the women take their agricultural products to the market, takes beans, takes sorghum, takes cassava, and recognizes the value for her own, because in doing that they're also contributing to the GDP, because there are aspects of taxes they're paying with resources, networks, and even mentorship, which can help them overcome barriers to starting and growing businesses, and also creating opportunities for economic independence and wealth accumulation among themselves. So we need to encourage them basically to start small and grow slowly, and progressively they will get there. And in terms of work balance, I'm looking at the policies and laws, implementing policies that support the work-life balance, such as affordable childcare, parental leave, and flexible work engagements. You find women still have struggles, especially in getting that work balance, and in most cases you find that majority of the women are there so far. So I think we need still to be deliberate to create a more inclusive and equitable environment for women to thrive and succeed. And then we also need to contribute, because I see some women have risen and forgotten their folks down there. So the women who are rising should provide the mentorship so that we empower the lower women community monitoring groups. And 85% of the members of those groups are women. They're the ones who report cases, because if it were not for the women, I think the project would...
Secretary Cole, you can
when I was sitting here and talking about gender, talking about the girl child, you name it, and we said it. This, we're talking about the late 80s. I spent a lot of time talking and working with the ladies, the women, to see how we can have gender equality. So I have watched Uganda go through that time when the women were really on everybody's back burner. Now we have come to the frowning years. I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm happy to hear that because of a side story. I have a granddaughter who wanted to become an engineer, and the father said, I'm not going to pay. If you become an engineer, who will marry you? I want you to go and do commerce, you come back and maybe you manage the man's business. And the girl said, no, I want to become an engineer, and I'm happy to inform you that she is one of you. She's an engineer. But that was digressing. Now, specifically about the women being empowered economically in order for us to have gender equality. I think at this moment I want to confess that I'm becoming extremely conflicted. Reason being, when we're grandmother, nothing is off limits. So when I meet these young people, we talk, and I look at the empowerment and I see where it is going. So normally I would ask these young ladies, so where do you work? And do you have any children? Oh no, Victoria, I'm not yet married. And I'm like, oh, why? I don't know, but nobody has yet arrived. But if you want, let's say if you are playing hide and seek, you don't run so far that the person gets tired chasing you before they find you. So if this game of girl and boy is hide and seek, the girl seems to be running too fast. And concentrate on improving public services. For example, if we want to empower a young lady who works in a market, what she needs are public toilets. But even before she goes to work into a market, if she is going to work in a market, she needs to go to school and at least learn two things: learn communication and learn the arithmetic. Because you cannot do business when you cannot do the chivalry, as the president calls it, and at the same time you cannot do business if you cannot speak a language of business. So if we are talking about equality, I think what we should do is actually go through our school system, make sure that our public schools actually empower both the girl and boy child. Because I have come across this and I have confirmed, our young men, while we were busy empowering the young girl, we forgot to empower the young boy. And as you find that most of your boys will not normally bring, they have been empowered and have got the power of the wallet, actually would love to get married, would love to have friends of the opposite sex. So how do we do it? In my view, we empower the girl child, but we also empower the boy child and teach him and enable him and skill him. With the IGG who is here, I've already told her offline that she had better stop catching mukene. We are tired of eating mukene, we want imputa. If there is a big thief, catch the big thief, then we shall celebrate. So that way public services should actually be available and the IGG should protect them. Then two, when you go to government schools, UPE and USE, that's where most of our children are going, the boy and the girl. Please make sure those services are good and they are empowering the youth. When you come to urban places, many places have just been declared there's no space where you can take your creative child to perform a concert. And now that I'm talking about concerts, we now have very young girls who are fantastic performers. Yesterday I was watching Lydia Jasmine, she's fantastic. Before that I was watching Rema. But it is very difficult for those people to find where to perform. So you want to empower them. When I say empower the boy and the girl, let us have spaces where our children can actually bloom, can actually thrive by doing what they do and they do best. Most of these wonderful cities need to have halls where we can go and enjoy our culture, where we can display our art. But most of these cities, when for example you go there with a tourist and they have got fat wallets and they are ready to spend. So for me, what I'm looking at after all those years of talking about the girl child and watching the youth, let us empower both.
The good thing of the Deputy IGG, I saw her noting down. I believe she's going to start on empowering also the boy child after the program. Interesting. Women Council, how far have you empowered the women and the girl child in terms of economic